Close your eyes and picture a crowd, a stadium, a packed living room, a bar full of people leaning toward the same glowing screen, shouting at the same moment, clapping at the same movement, rising together as if one invisible hand just pulled them upward. Now delete the game. Delete the jerseys, the chants, the team colors, the scoreboard, the replay, the group chat, the national obsession, the feeling that everyone around you knows exactly what this is supposed to mean. What you are left with is not emptiness. It is a human body standing inside collective emotion and not joining it. Not broken, just separate. And one way to understand that separation is not as a lack of passion or a failure to belong or some strange defect in your personality. It may be something older. A nervous system refusing to dissolve into the crowd. Because somewhere deep in the body, the crowd was never only entertainment. The crowd was information. Right now, a loud cultural obsession may look harmless. A championship run, a viral trend, a public argument, a celebrity downfall, a national event that everyone suddenly treats like weather. But the ancient brain does not begin with entertainment. It begins with bodies. Too many bodies in one place means movement to track, faces to read, voices to sort, alliances to measure, exits to remember, and sudden shifts in energy that can change the safety of the room before anyone has explained why. That is the first misunderstanding. When people ask why you do not care about the thing everyone else cares about, they often assume the thing itself is the issue. The sport, the trend, the public ritual, the shared obsession. But your body may be responding to the structure around it. The noise, the heat, the synchronized emotion, the demand to react on cue. For many people, that synchronization feels warm. It gives shape to belonging. It tells the nervous system, we are together. We are on the same side. We are safe inside the same rhythm. For others, it does the opposite. It raises the load. The room becomes too dense. The signals become too fast. The emotional temperature rises without a direct survival reason, and the nervous system starts asking a quiet question no one else seems to hear. Why are we spending energy here? That question is ancient, because for most of human history, emotional energy was not an infinite decoration. Attention was costly. A surge of adrenaline was costly. Getting swept into collective excitement was costly if it made you stop watching the edge of the environment. The group could dance, shout, celebrate, mourn, rage, gather, compete, and bond. But not every nervous system had to join at the same volume. Somebody had to stay clear. In a modern crowd, this can look like indifference. At the office, everyone is talking about the big match, and you are watching the way the conversation makes people perform loyalty. At dinner, everyone is laughing at a trend you barely understand, and you are noticing who gets louder, who waits to copy the dominant reaction, who pretends to care just enough to remain safe. At a party, the room surges around a shared topic, and something in you steps back without moving your body. You are there, but not absorbed. Not because you hate people, not because you think you are above them, not because you have no emotional life, because your attention has not been captured by the same signal. That is a different thing. And in an older world, that difference may have had value. Imagine a small group gathered around a shared event. Not a stadium, not a broadcast, a real event inside the group. A conflict, a ritual, a test of strength, a celebration after danger has passed. Most eyes turn inward. Most bodies sink. Most voices follow the emotional wave. But the edge of the group still exists. The dark line beyond the safe space still exists. The unfamiliar sound still exists. The stranger approaching from the wrong angle still exists. The child wandering too far still exists. The storm smell, the snapped branch, the sudden silence of animals. The face that does not match the mood. Someone has to notice. This is not a romantic image. It is a survival function. The nervous system that does not fully merge with the emotional crowd can remain available to the wider environment. It keeps one part of the mind outside the spell. It measures risk, while others are measuring belonging. Quiet observation can be protection. Not always. but often enough to matter. Modern life has changed the setting, but not the machinery. Now, the group event might be a sports season, a viral scandal, a celebrity feud, a political spectacle, a workplace hype cycle, a product launch, a social media pile-on, or some national obsession that arrives suddenly and expects your full emotional participation. The body sees the same pattern: collective arousal, shared symbols, insider language, fast loyalty tests, a strange pressure to care, to react, to choose a side, to prove that you are not outside the circle. And if your nervous system is built to conserve energy, it may resist hard. This is where the social shame begins, because groups often mistrust the person who does not mirror them. If everyone is laughing and you are calm, your calmness can look like judgment. If everyone is angry and you are quiet, your quiet can look like betrayal. If everyone is celebrating and you are neutral, your neutrality can look like distance. The ancient social brain knows this. Exile was dangerous. Rejection mattered. Being seen as not one of us could once threaten access to protection, food, mating, shelter, information, and survival itself. So the pressure is real. Even now, you can feel it in the tiny moment when someone asks, "You don't watch?" and the room goes slightly still. You can feel it when you laugh politely at something you do not care about. You can feel it when you memorize just enough names, scores, references, or trending details to pass as socially fluent. That is not fake. That is camouflage. A very old one. But camouflage is not the same as belonging. And performing excitement is not the same as feeling it. For some people, the cost of pretending becomes heavier than the cost of standing apart. Their body does the math. It sees the wasted arousal, the forced loyalty, the emotional spike over an outcome they cannot control, the hours spent tracking a symbolic conflict that does not feed, shelter, heal, or protect anyone in their immediate world. Then the system withdraws, not dramatically, quietly. It steps back from the chant. It leaves the group chat unread. It stops trying to manufacture awe. It saves the energy for work that is real, people who are near, problems that can actually be touched, and moments where attention changes something. That can look cold from the outside. Inside, it may feel like relief, because the ancient brain was not designed to care equally about everything. It was designed to prioritize kin, shelter, food, threat, status, repair, rest. The next few bodies close enough to affect your safety. Modern culture breaks that scale. It asks your nervous system to react to distant teams, distant strangers, distant arguments, distant victories, distant humiliations, distant disasters, distant performances, distant enemies, distant tribes, all arriving with the emotional intensity of something happening right outside your door. That is mismatch. The world became huge. The nervous system stayed local. So when everyone else seems able to pour energy into a massive public spectacle, and you cannot make yourself care, one possible explanation is not that you are empty. It is that your emotional system is refusing to treat a distant symbolic event like a direct survival event. It is guarding the gate. There is also a sensory layer. Crowds are not only ideas. They are volume, motion, interruption, facial intensity, unpredictable touch, sudden shouting, bright colors, compressed space, and rapid shifts from boredom to eruption. For some nervous systems, that is bonding. For others, it is weather. Heavy weather. The body braces, the shoulders rise, the face becomes neutral. The mind starts tracking exits, tone changes, social rules, and the safest amount of participation required to avoid being noticed. People call that not caring, but sometimes it is caring about too much at once. Not the game, the room. Not the score, the signals. Not the ritual, the survival math under the ritual. And once you see it this way, the quiet observer stops looking like a failed member of the group. They start looking like a different role inside the group. The crowd amplifies emotion. The observer regulates it. The crowd creates identity through shared heat. The observer keeps identity from being swallowed by the heat. The crowd says, "Feel this with us." The observer asks, "What happens if I don't?" That question is dangerous in any group, because groups are partly built from shared attention. To refuse the object of attention can feel like refusing the group itself. This is why indifference can create more discomfort than disagreement. An enemy still participates. A critic still proves the ritual matters. But the person who calmly does not enter the emotional field reveals something unsettling. The spell is optional. That is why your neutrality can bother people. Not because it is loud, because it is quiet. And quiet people can expose the machinery of a crowd without saying a word. They show that some identities need constant reinforcement. They show that some loyalties are maintained by repetition. They show that some forms of belonging require everyone to clap at the same moment, laugh at the same reference, and mourn the same symbolic loss. The ancient brain understands the power of this. Group rhythm can create safety. It can turn scattered individuals into one body. It can lower uncertainty by making everyone easier to predict. But it can also make the group blind. Blind to outsiders. Blind to danger. Blind to manipulation. Blind to the person who is only pretending. Blind to the cost of the frenzy itself. So the observer remains partly unsynchronized. This does not make the observer superior. It makes them costly in a different way, because standing on the edge has its own burden. You may feel lonely in rooms where everyone else feels connected. You may wonder why the thing that gives them instant belonging gives you nothing. You may feel guilty for not caring, then irritated that you are expected to care, then tired from explaining a difference that should not need a defense. That exhaustion is modern. The mechanism is old. A body designed for small, local groups now lives inside endless mass rituals. A nervous system built to track the few people who could actually affect its survival is asked to join emotional weather systems made of millions. A brain shaped for direct consequence is asked to burn itself on symbolic consequence. And some brains simply refuse. That refusal can be quiet wisdom. It can be energy conservation. It can be perimeter awareness. It can be a stable self, not easily pulled into every wave of collective emotion. It can be the nervous system saying, "I will not spend survival fuel on a fire that does not warm me." So what is the psychology of people who do not obsess over what everyone else loves? It is not one thing. It is not a diagnosis. It is not proof of intelligence, coldness, depth, damage, or superiority. It may be a different survival setting. A brain that does not automatically treat group excitement as safety. A body that does not relax just because everyone else is loud. A nervous system that saves intensity for what is close, concrete, and real. A mind that can stand at the edge of the circle and stay awake while the circle turns inward. The modern world calls that disconnection. But the ancient body may call it watchfulness. And the further we get from the small groups that shaped us, the easier it becomes to forget that not every useful person was meant to sing with the crowd, charge with the crowd, rage with the crowd, or lose themselves inside the same beautiful noise. Some were meant to notice the noise. Some were meant to survive outside it. And some were meant to remain still enough to remember that a crowd is not always truth. Sometimes it is only heat. And you are the part of the old human mind that did not step into the fire.